it showed over time. Like the kid was putting in extra work. Lindor was working with him. Like again, this all is attributed to what's going on behind the scenes with the Mets. What we saw this year, leading off with the home opener with me announcing our first veteran of the game, Seymour Wiener, and just everyone was just like, "Well, that's fun." Yeah, yeah. Okay, so
I was
here's the
trying to
thing.
think of his name. I couldn't think of it. Like with all the superstitions, like that was the other old guy. I couldn't think of his
Dude,
name.
so we've known each other for what, 38 minutes now? Here's the thing. I'm a 44-year-old child. And when I came into work that day, and they're like, "Okay, Colin, do you see the veteran of the game?" I was just like, "Yes." They said, "You saw the name?" I said, "Yes." They said, "You know what it is?" I said, "Yes." And I said, "It's Seymour Wiener." They said, "Yes." And they started chuckling. And I was like, here's the thing. I happened to have a friend when I was 6 years old whose name was Lauren Wiener, and it just so happened that her father's name was Seymour. So it's like, this is not the first time I've seen more Wiener. Okay, so like this is old hat to me. And so I announced it, and then my phone blew up, and people are like, "Dude, how'd you get through that without laughing?" I'm like, "I don't have to tell you the story. It's fine." And I was like, "By the way, you're at the ballpark?" They're like, "No, I'm watching SNY." I'm like, "Wait a minute." They put it on SNY. They're like, "Oh yeah, and it's all over the internet right now." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." So we started the season 0-5, but we were riding the lightning of Seymour Wiener. Then June 12th, as I alluded to previously, Grimace came in and became our pseudo mascot. And then we had OMG and all that stuff. And then in late August, we were playing against the Oakland Athletics, and I announced Haley Welch, otherwise known as the Hawk Tua girl. She threw out a first pitch, and we got eviscerated online because it just so happened we lost that game. We had a 4-0 lead, and we blew the game. Sorry, that's a wrong term to use when Hawk Tua girls involved. Anyway, and so whatever, blah blah blah. But I had the dubious honor of introducing Seymour Wiener, Grimace, and Hawk Tua girl. But
that's a year.
What's that?
Said that's a year.
It is for an announcer, like, and my voice is attached to all of them, going like mega viral, and no one gives a crap about it. Like they're like, "Who's that guy announcing them?" But I do. I hear that, and I'm like, one day my daughter's gonna hear that and be like, "Dad, that sounds like you," and I'll be like, "No, it doesn't. Eat your eggs." You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was an incredible year. It was a wild ride, and I feel like everyone in Major League Baseball got behind us, except for like Dodgers fans who are also like, "Oh, that's kind of cute." And I'm like, "Well, you spent $1 billion, so whatever." But I'm in a very happy place, and I feel like the future could not be brighter.
No question. And we really appreciate the time, Colin. I know you're busy. You got a wife and kids. We're very happy to have you on, and we'll get you on very, very soon. We really appreciate the time, as always, for all the different guests that we have on the show. Keep up the good work, man. I absolutely love what you're doing right now with the Mets, and the Mets have a great future, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, brother. I thought I was told I was on till 11, so I was literally prepared for the next 80 minutes.
It's so funny. We did the last. We were on Monday, and then Chaba was like, "Oh, what a great show!" But man, we went over the time. What the F? I was like, Chaba, we're gonna try to keep it. We're going to try to keep it in the parameters of 7:30 to 10:30. We'll try, but it's fun, man. It goes so fast when we do a show and it goes fluent and everything is good. It's great content. It could go with the blink of an eye. You don't even realize how fast it goes.
That's you guys are an absolute blast, and I'm out here on Long Island. Would love to actually see all of you in person one day. Grab a beer when I'm actually feeling better. And to top all of this off, by the way, I'm also the PA announcer for Army, and Army football is currently, yes, you did it. Way to go, Fish. I knew you could do it. Granted, you covered up the thought bubble. But anyway, but like also Army football right now is ranked nationally, and we're undefeated. So like I get to like keep riding that through, and everything's going to be just fine. But to the Mets fans out there, the future is bright. To all the Sports Loudmouth fans out there, sorry for taking over the show for a few minutes.
You didn't take over nothing, man. We're happy to have you on. And you're Colin Cosell, you're Howard Cosell's grandson. And by the way, we have the same friends, so that's a plus. So We really
Yeah, we do.
appreciate the time, my friend, and keep up the good work. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Job, a real pleasure, man. And Speedy, keep that hat flat, man. Love it.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you.
All right, guys. Pleasure, brother.
Colin Cosell, ladies and gentlemen. The first time. Come on, Spatty. Pitty patter. Pitty patter. There we go. Patter.
I did it.
Patter. Colin Cosell, ladies and gentlemen. We have, our betting man. We have Chazzy Boy. No West tonight, but we got his picks. Guys, if you're a first-time listener, these guys right now, 76% for the year for their picks. Tune in as we call this Let's Parlay.
It's time for Let's Parlay.
All right, Chaz, you're the only one here tonight. What do you got on that board back there? What are you hiding back there? What are you doing over there?
I do a lot of writing, just notes.
A lot of writing. I know.
I'm a writing and data guy. I have a weird brain. I do both math and art. So,
Well, there you go. I don't do art. I don't
but
really write much.
I want to apologize because in the last 2 weeks I'm 6-2, so I'm sucking down that 76 average. Right?
No, you're pretty. You guys have been pretty dead.
No, I just said I'm a math guy. 75 is less than 76. I could be 77 if I could do better. But you know what? It was funny because, and Petey and I have talked about this a lot, especially when we do Saturday night show on the Long Island, about you know what, you make your plays ahead of time based on the information you have, and then you have to react. And that live action, like Buffalo, it was like everything lined up that the Bills were the play in the second half, and you get all your money back from anything you lost. And so it's amazing how you can win a lot of money going 2-2 if you're paying attention. Now, if you got a job and you put your bets in and you go to your job, but my job is kind of sitting at home watching the game. So that's what
there you go. Are you ready, Chaz? So
you know what? I actually have 5 plays this week.
All right.
So I'm gonna ask you guys to kick one out for me. But let's talk about. I got the notes. I can talk about 5 of them real quick.
Before you do that, I just want to let everybody know that has not listened to this part of the show. Let's Parlay is pretty simple. It's simple rules. When we usually have 2 or 3 guys on, they get 3 of their top picks, and then they pick their 4th to parlay it. Okay, so guys, you get your pens and pencils out, and you get your piece of papers out. You guys can win some money. I promise you. These guys are dead on. And they're usually precisely on. So here we go. Chaz, give us your number 1.
All right, so Sunday morning, 10 o'clock my time, I have over in the Atlanta-Tampa Bay game. Now, everybody knows the Tampa Bay's guys look like they got shot because they had 2 really bad injuries. But here's the thing. The line is 46. And so I know that every single person that plays Atlanta scores 20 points. And then I know that Tampa Bay in their last 4, they've allowed 108 points. And 108 divided by 4, I told you I was a math guy, plus 20 is more than 46. That's how I came up with that play. Same time, 10 o'clock. Now, some days I don't have 2 games at the 10 o'clock. This week I got 3 of them. But this one is Detroit. Tennessee's offense is going in the wrong direction. Their top wide receiver gone, and Mason Rudolph. The only time you should be hearing Mason Rudolph's name is on Christmas Eve, and it should be Rudolph the Reindeer. Now, I'm laying double digits, and I'm going to watch. I'm going to do the same thing with this game as the Buffalo game, though. I'm going to watch it early. And if Tennessee gets a weird play, and Wes and I have a word for that. When the other team that's a big underdog, makes an interception or returns a kick or does something crazy, it's just an opportunity to get the line down. But there's 3 bets that I like that are double digits this week. I just think they're the better teams. Cleveland hasn't scored 20 this year, not once. The line is -9. 17 plus 9 is 26. You guys didn't think this was going to be a math lesson, did you? So here's the thing. 17 plus 9 is 26. So do I think that Baltimore's going to score more than 26 points? And the answer was yes. So I wrote them on the list. The 4th play I got is over in the Chicago-Washington game. Now, I've won a few times with the over the Washington game. The Chicago one, maybe a little iffy, but here's my logic. Both defenses are getting better, but the Bears' offense is getting better while Washington is kind of stable, but they're stable at 30 points a game, guys. They're averaging 30 points a game. The Bears haven't allowed more than 21, but Washington hasn't scored less than 23. So I've just got a feeling that I'm a big fan of the Williams, right, for the Bears.
Caleb Williams, yep.
And Washington's got a pretty good young quarterback. The two young quarterbacks, sometimes those guys they do special stuff. But it's only 47. That's not a crazy number, you know. And finally, I got that's a 125 game. And 125, of course, I'm in San Diego. So this is the time of year where we start to rub it in because our temperature is much different than yours. But you're going to see plenty of that this week, won't you? Starting Friday night when they show the temperatures, and then they go back to New York and show the temperatures.
Well, Speedy likes to rub it in every night, so I see it every night. Let's go.
Yeah, and you can really tell, but just by what they're wearing on their heads, right, at the baseball games this time of year. So this last game is Denver -10. Carolina on the road, they've scored 18 of less in 8 of 9, and they have allowed 26 plus in 5 of 6. I'm back with another young quarterback. I'm thinking that, you know what, I would not normally worry about taking -10 with Bo Nix if it was a Saturday NCAA game, right? But this is an NFL game, and I'm still taking it. So that's the thing I got, guys. I got to kick one of those out. And I'm kicking out the Denver game or the over in the Atlanta-Tampa Bay game. Which one should I kick out? I'm going to defer to you experts.
I'm going to go with the Broncos.
What do you think, Speedy?
Let's make Java the tiebreaker.
Oh, I got to be the tiebreaker?
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to,
Parlay
but just got to
debut.
pick one of those two.
I'm going Broncos.
All right, so I'm kicking out the Broncos, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I just think Tampa's going to have something to prove, even with losing those guys in the Broncos.
I agree with you. And you know what? That's the kind of stuff that you could say what you want about Baker Mayfield. The bottom line is he's a football player. He's an old school football player, man. He really is. And those are the kind of guys that'll take it on themselves. So, all right, so that's our 4-teamer. We're going to our best free plays are Detroit, Baltimore, over Chicago, Washington, and the final one is over Atlanta, Tampa Bay.
All right, Speedy, give us Wes's.
All right. First of all, Chaz, Wes wants you to know he's very high on his Georgia pick from last week. He wanted to let everybody have it that was picking Texas.
Hey, you know what? Those are the bomb, especially when you're right from the beginning because it's such a stressless environment. You know, the stress level of some games ain't worth the money you win. I've seen guys, I said, I just watched you. You could have had 2 heart attacks. You won $100. You're out of your mind, you know, but that one was easy. So he should be.
Yep. So his one NFL pick, he's got Seattle covering +3 against the Bills. He's got 3 college, one UConn -6.5. They're playing against Rice. Duke is covering the spread +12.5 against SMU, number 22. And then he's got Texas A&M covering -3 at home against number 8 LSU.
There you go. Wes and Chaz, we love you. Thank you.
Yeah, always be cashing, guys.
Wow, we have Let's Parlay. And by the way, guys, they're as good as anybody in the business. I'm telling you right now, if you wrote those things down, go listen to the replay, write them down, and start making bets. These guys are the best. I'm not lying to you. This is not just me trying to sell you guys to do it. We have them on Moneyline Mania. They're over like 78% right now. Wes, we have Hector. We have all of them. I mean, we've got like 5-6 guys. They're great. One of them is actually that's all he does. He makes what is he? What is he?
Papoose Paulo.
No, not even Papoose Paulo.
GMF John.
GMF John.
Yeah.
He goes to Vegas. This guy, he has his own organization. He sells picks, and this guy makes a lot of money doing it. He was actually on a TV show.
That's right.
He was on a TV show.
Wasn't there a guy supposedly a couple years ago that called himself like Vegas something or whatever? It was kind of a
there's a lot of different guys that say they're really good betting guys, but I could tell you this. I've had a couple of really good ones on our show. These guys are as good as anybody. I'm telling you, if they're better than Vegas. They're better than Vegas. They'll give you 8, 9, 10 picks, no matter how many people on. They'll go 8-2. They'll go 10-0. I think 1 week, it was the worst week they had. I think 2 of them had 2 wrong. They were like 2-2. I think that was the worst I've ever seen it. I mean, these guys are great. So if they're good, and by the way, Chaz, he's a mathematical whiz guy. So he'll sit there and jot numbers down, and he's as good as it gets. I'm telling you right now. I see Mike making faces. I know it gets a little boring when you hear it, but they're good. And if you want to win some money, you should be listening. That's all I'm going to say about that. Yes, Fish. Go ahead, put it up again. I know you want to. Go ahead, put it up. There it is. Good old Rudolph, baby. You know, you like that job, all right?
I mean, it's dynamite. I didn't expect him to go there, but I was like, that was quick-witted.
Well, it is. It's very quick-witted. After the Patriots lost against the Jaguars, Jerod Mayo said that the Patriot players were soft, especially on defense. Mayo emphasizes good football teams know how to tackle, stop the run, and tackle on special teams. Bill Belichick took shots at Mayo, saying that mostly the same roster was the number 1 run defense last year and number 26 this year. Belichick also added that Mayo shouldn't be criticizing his team publicly the way he did. 2 Patriot wide receivers also had cryptic tweets taking shots at Mayo for their lack of playing time. Both the Patriots offense and defense are bottom 10 in both yards and points per game. I mean, you knew this was going to happen. I'm telling you, I knew this was going to happen. Bill Belichick was bound to open his mouth and say what he thought about this Patriot team. It is embarrassing right now what's going, but we knew this was going to happen. We all know that Mikey C loves their young quarterback. Great for him. Top quarterback in the league in 4 years. He's on drugs, and we'll get into that in just a few moments. Drake May is not going to be a top 5 quarterback in 4 years. Just that's not even an opinionated answer. I mean, that's pretty fact. But I will say this. Right now, Jerod Mayo is in a tailspin, and the tailspin is about to drop. Bill Belichick, who's kept this team, atop of the AFC East for how long? I mean, he was there for 22 years? They were on the top of the AFC for 20 out of the 22 years. The fact right now, this is Jerod Mayo's first year as the head coach of this New England Patriot team, and they're the worst team right now in the AFC. Yes, in the AFC. They're the worst team in the AFC. It says a lot about what Bill Belichick preaches. And what Bill Belichick preaches is it doesn't matter what player or what team you have together, you find a way to win the game. You find a way to find ways to win games. And this team finds a way to lose games. I mean, the Jets right now are a team that finds a way to lose games. I mean, the Patriots are starting to fall into the Jets brand. And I'm a Jet fan. So, I mean, the fact that there's cryptic statements by players right now on the team only says one thing. There's players that decided to take shots at Jerod Mayo in the beginning of the preseason. Where are they now? One of them is playing for Atlanta, their best defensive player. So you see what's going on right now with that organization. Robert Kraft handpicked her. Robert Kraft came out in the beginning of the season after the first game, said that Jerod Mayo was handpicked 3 years ago to be the next head coach. 3 years ago. And that tells me one thing. Bill Belichick knew his ass was going. He knew it 3 years ago. He was going. And why? Because he decided to go, and Robert Kraft decided to go pitch it to Jerod Mayo that he was the next head coach of this organization. I don't know what's going on with the Patriots. We all know one thing. Bill Belichick is not running the show anymore. Bill Belichick is going to say whatever he wants. As we know, Jerry Jones likes to say whatever he wants about his organization. Bill Belichick is right now, the lead go-getter. If Mike McCarthy gets fired, he's the guy that's probably going to be taking over for the Cowboys. I don't think that makes sense for Bill Belichick because there are going to be teams lining up like the Giants, like the Eagles. There are going to be better teams right now that have their players lined up. I mean, their teams are pretty much set up with a lot of youth. I knew this was going to happen on the Pat McAfee show. I knew it. And Pat McAfee loves this because Pat McAfee likes to draw. What does he like to draw, Speedy? Attention and controversy. This is what he likes. That's why Aaron Rodgers is on the show. That's why Bill Belichick's on the show. I wouldn't even be surprised if Bill Belichick is one of the coaches that could be available for the New York Jets. That would be fitting that the Jets bring in Bill Belichick to screw that organization up even more.
That would be hilarious, but never happened.
I don't think so either, but he loves Aaron Rodgers. So who knows if what Aaron Rodgers wants, he will get. But I'm not surprised about this. I think Jerod Mayo needs to keep it within the locker room. Don't go out there. Don't publicize anything. Bill Belichick was the king of not publicizing anything. Whatever was going on with him and Robert Kraft, whatever was going on with him and Tom Brady, whatever was going on with him and Julian Edelman, whatever was going on with him and Rob Gronkowski. And yes, I'm saying this because I know this to be a fact. Anybody that watched the Dynasty would know that a lot of these guys were not getting along with Bill Belichick, but you wouldn't have even known because Bill Belichick kept winning. Nobody even cared. When you win, nobody cares. Jabba, you know this. When you win, nobody cares. When you lose, everybody is trying to find something to powder the puff, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and you also look at like coaches that are taking over teams that we know are very bad. Like, for example, Brian Flores is the positive end of it. Miami was actively tanking that year for Tua Tagovailoa. We knew their roster was horrible. Brian Flores didn't say anything. He just coached his team. He had good relationships with the players for the most part, and he built a good winning culture there. Then obviously they did him wrong, and he's still looking for a coaching job since then as a head coach. He's doing a great job as a coordinator now in Minnesota. But we've also seen the other extreme with these Patriot disciples with the Giants and Joe Judge, who actively called out his players. And how long did he last? And Jerod Mayo is kind of getting in that same kind of boat as what Joe Judge was. And that's not the team you want to do it with the New England Patriots. And you question a lot of the things with Robert Kraft too. You have every right to be so now because Bill Belichick seems like a stabilizer at this point. Now Bill Belichick just rolling with the fact that everything is just okay because he wanted Jerod Mayo 3 years ago, and now he's having these public backlash going at it. It is very Jets-esque what they're going through right now. The Patriots did everything to do to keep everything a secret, including Bill Belichick's contract last year that we talked about. So yeah, it's very Jets-esque.
I think it's funny too, like how he always hit everything when he coached, but now that he's not coaching, it's like you're criticizing everything, right? And I think, obviously Mayo in his like I think one of his quotes from Pro Football Talk, he's just like, look, I said the main focus is on the guys inside of this building, not only players, but also the coaches and the rest of the staff. And I mean, great answer because it's a lose-lose, like even though you were handpicked, but also at the same time, it's like seeing the dynamic that Belichick has done on the McAfee show and Manning cast and call people out when it is a 180 compared to when he actually was coaching, where everything was so mundane, and it's still mundane, but he's more vocal about certain things. And it's just, it's really different. It's like, if he is going for another job, does he revert back to everything is in-house? Or is he going to keep the same mentality that he's doing right now? Because he never called out anybody. He's like, we'll figure it out, this, that, and another thing. But yeah, it was just interesting when I was reading all about it. And I'm like, you wouldn't think this was his, I guess, demeanor. But if you've seen Dynasty, you could kind of tell there's been conflict between multiple people, but you never knew until he wanted it to come out.
Well, you got to look at it like this. Jerod Mayo is losing the locker room. Bill Belichick is, you can almost say on record that he could obviously be the greatest NFL coach. So, but I do believe if he does get another NFL job, I think we saw when Tom Brady left, his kind of coaching, his technique, him taking over the team, being a general manager and a coach, it didn't bowl too well for him. So as another team that may look to bring him in, I don't know if I would moving forward. Obviously, he could say whatever he wants about his former team that he used to coach and the former players that are there. He did it. He won 6 rings, and he's a master at it. So I back him on whatever he has to say. And knowing the way the Patriots play right now, it's a disgrace. And Mayo is losing the locker room. And, even though Robert Kraft picked Mayo, maybe sometimes, and I've always said this, it goes as far back with Jerry Jones, and I'm watching it now with Mara. Stay out of it as an owner. Let the people that you hire make the football decisions.
And you mentioned where would Bill Belichick fit? And I've been saying this, and I'll tell you, I know exactly where he would fit. It makes a lot of sense. That's the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the one reason why is I believe Jacksonville's owner would make Bill Belichick the GM and the coach.
See, I don't think that'd be a good idea.
I do, because right now they have a good defense. They have a lot of good players on the defensive side of the ball. They have a quarterback that hasn't developed. Bill Belichick loves that fast toss, fast pass. And one of the fastest releases right now in the NFL is Trevor Lawrence, when he does actually step into the pocket and throw the ball. So if you have a quarterback that has a fast release, that's the guy. You need to redevelop this guy. Doug Peterson couldn't do it. Bill Belichick brings in, all these disciples. We all know where he would go when it came to that, when it comes to his offensive corner. He's a failure when it comes to head coach. But Josh McDaniels is a good offensive coordinator, and he has coached good quarterbacks, even bad quarterbacks, and made them good quarterbacks. I think if you bring in Bill Belichick, he could be the GM. Ownership will allow him to do what he needs to do to rebuild this team and this organization. That's the one that makes the most sense. But again, the Cowboys are going to go full out, press for Bill Belichick. Why? Because he's a name. And Bill Belichick, he believes, Jerry Jones, because he's the greatest coach of all time as far as he's concerned, that if he brings him, he brought Bill Parcells in, remember that? Bill Parcells got this team playing well, and then all of a sudden Bill Parcells says, sayonara, I don't want to be here anymore, because he didn't want to deal with Jerry Jones. Jimmy Johnson, great coach, won, 2 Super Bowls, wins 2 Super Bowls, then he goes, sayonara, I'm not dealing with your crap anymore. Jerry Jones needs to step down and let the coach and the GM run this organization. If he does this, they win a Super Bowl. They would have won a Super Bowl already if they kept Amari Cooper. They absolutely would have. That was a good offensive line, and they had Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb 2 years into his career. I mean, CeeDee Lamb, look what CeeDee Lamb is right now. Look at Amari Cooper. Could you imagine these two guys on the same roster right now? They would be explosive. It was a mistake getting rid of him. I was the first person that took shots at Amari Cooper for years, because I thought Amari Cooper was a number 2, not a number 1. A great number 2, but not a number 1. I take it back. Amari Cooper's a lot better than I thought he was. And he's showing it right now. In one game, he didn't even know the offense, and he's running all over the place catching balls. So I just, to me right now, where I think it makes a lot of sense for Bill Belichick, and speaking of Bill Belichick, I got another story for you guys to hear. On the Pat McAfee show, Bill Belichick took shots at the Giants organization for the way they have approached their offense. He mentioned not re-signing Saquon Barkley. I love this guy already. For only about $1 million more than they offered him in the past. He really pissed Bill Belichick off. He also took shots at Joe Shane for his approach to rebuilding the offensive line, saying they have nobody that can play the tackle position. He said that Daniel Jones is trying to hang in there, and it is tough sledding for him without Andrew Thomas. When McAfee told Belichick that Daniel Jones is still starting, Belichick said, right, in somewhat sarcastic way. So honestly, Bill Belichick and me agree with a lot of things he just said, okay? Bill Belichick actually thinks Daniel Jones could play. He does. He thinks that you can win with Daniel Jones. But right now, the Giants have not built through the trenches. We all know this. Joe Douglas, shame on you, and I don't want to hear it from the Jet fans, because Joe Douglas came in and he said the number one thing he was going to do was build around the trenches. Okay, your best trench player is Quentin Williams. You didn't even draft him, okay? That's one. Number 2, you said about building your offensive line. You drafted Mekhi Beckham. He sucks. He's a guard right now for the Eagles. That's just the Jets. Now let's go to Joe Shane, who is asking his kids who he should draft in the 1st and 2nd round. Okay? Here's what I'm going to say about Joe Shane. Joe Shane, this offseason, decided to part ways with his best offensive option. He went at Joe Shane and the Giants this past week, had 175 yards and 1 touchdown, absolutely humiliated that organization for not signing him. Okay? You bring in offensive linemen, 2 offensive linemen that have not done their job. I'm sorry. I don't care what you say, Fish, with PFL or whatever, PPF or whatever the hell you're going to say. I don't care. When it comes to what I've seen, the eye thing, I think that offensive line, even with Andrew Thomas, was up and down. They were not protecting Daniel Jones. And by the way, where are the weapons? I don't want to hear about Robinson. He sucks. I don't want to hear about Darius Slayton, who everybody tried to compare to Odell Beckham. He sucks, okay? And all I'm going to say is one thing, and one thing only. When you have one weapon, what do teams start to do? They take away that weapon. They take away your best option. And then what do you have? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So all you Giant fans that want to take shots at Daniel Jones, that he sucks, he's washed up, he's that. And let me ask you a question. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. That's what everybody says, right? Right? Is that what they say, Speedy? What is he doing with nothing right now?
Throwing interceptions.
Nothing. Exactly. Zero. So what does that spell for all you Giant fans? It spells you have a quarterback. You don't know how to build a team. Just like the Jets, 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 Jets. And that's all I'm going to say about the Giants. I think Bill Belichick is absolutely home run out of the park. They should have signed Saquon Barkley. They'd be a playoff bound team right now. A bound team right now with Saquon Barkley. 100%. You could book that. They would be right now. They would have 3 wins right now if Saquon Barkley was on that roster. And shame on the Giants not doing that. And as far as building the offensive line, yeah, you spent enough money and it didn't work. Joe Shane, hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back. And as far as Brian Dable's concerned, he can sit on the sidelines, turn red until he blows up like a friggin' blueberry. I'm going to tell you this right now. The best thing he did this offseason is lose the effing weight.
Yeah, they've had a problem even going back before Joe Shane developing this offensive line too, and they've had to resort to having these bad contracts. Nate Solder being one of them. Somebody the Belichick coached, and that did not.
You got all Giant fans. I can't wait to hear this.
They did not get that to work either, and it's been a big problem for them since then. And as good as Joe Shane has done well drafting defensive players, I think the rookies that they have this year have done very well on the defensive side of the ball. He doesn't draft well in key positions. That's really hurt the Giants. And you're seeing now Andrew Thomas is one of the best offensive linemen in the league, but he goes down, and all of a sudden the offensive line goes down to a bottom 3 offensive line in the NFL. That doesn't really bode well for the rest of the draft picks that you have. We say it all the time with a lot of our guests. Offensive line is the biggest team unit in the NFL, and you can get away with winning Super Bowls with just competent enough team offensive lines. You don't necessarily have to have that all-pro left tackle all the time. And it just I'm not taking shots at Andrew Thomas. He's a fantastic player, but you could get that kind of thing if you just draft well, but they haven't done that either. And same thing with wide receivers. Since they traded Odell, obviously they've won the trade because they got Dexter Lawrence out of it, but they haven't drafted a good homegrown wide receiver until this year with Malik Neighbors. So Belichick is right in terms of nailing the fact that he has not been able to hit on key positions. And as a result, they let a guy walk, and all of a sudden they have no offense.
Yeah, well, it's going to stay like that because John Mara, as we started the show, came out and said that he does not foresee making any changes this offseason. Not even talking about this season, but this offseason, they're going to see it through. They're going to have Daniel play out his contract because he's a man of his word. He's given him a contract. He's going to play it out, unlike the 99% of other professional athletes where the teams just chew him up and spit him out. Yeah, Mara's, he's going to be an honorable by just keep taking these L's with Daniel Jones. Look, we talked about it a lot. Daniel Jones is if he has good situation, he's an effective quarterback. He's definitely an NFL quarterback as he is starter. He's might not be after this year if he doesn't figure it out real soon. Look, the line is not great. Let's not say the line is great. They played well against not great teams when they still had Andrew Thomas. They're not going to be nearly as good without him. But it's still the best line that Daniel Jones had in the last about 4 years because it was so bad before this that he couldn't even get into any 5-step drops. Now at least he kind of can. It still wasn't good. They got their asses kicked on the line. Illuminor was really good all season. He got destroyed at right tackle. And you have Izzudu, who I don't even know how he's still in the league. He probably won't be after the next couple of weeks. It looks ugly again. It's bad, and the guards are fine. But as Belichick said on the McAfee show, what they do, they spend the extra money on a guard. They got some pretty bad guards, some UFAs talking about Van Roden, trying to, that are just on this roster. And they could have just gave Saquon a couple of million more dollars, and he can carry guys 10 yards like he did to the Giants over and over and over again in the game this week. And it was just horrible to watch. I mean, I love Saquon. I love them, and I can't do it anymore. I can't ever root for the Eagles. They're my most hated team, at least because they're better than the Cowboys. But I hate them both, but definitely the Eagles more. I hate their fans more. There's a lot of hatred. I feel the hate. But when it comes to baseball, I hate the Red Sox fans more than the Philly fans because I'm not a Mets fan. But I could see how I would still hate the Philly fans more because I really hate the Philly fans. In case you guys weren't paying attention, this is who I am.
They yeah, Phillies fans, it all ages. When we got there, I mean, there was double birds. You had 70-year-old men cussing at you. Like it was impressive. But yeah, I mean, I was like, whoa, we
Doesn't
get
have much credit, Java.
real classy over here. We took the train. So everybody knew we were getting off. So, but yeah, I mean, it's the O line, like you said, is the biggest conglomerate and biggest group of your squad. And Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones. He's throwing 4 interceptions, but only 6 touchdowns. So, I mean, it'll be what it is. If they said they're sticking to it, then I guess be a man of your word and stick to it. If you're not going to do anything now or in the offseason. So I don't believe a word that these dudes say. They're just trying to appease everybody just to get through whatever the situation is and what all of us are talking about. So I don't trust them as far as I can throw them, but so we'll see what happens.
Well, what's an ownership supposed to say? No, they're not going to be around. You know, he's saying the political answer going forward. As long as Mara's involved, team's not going to go anywhere. I'm going to give a couple more weeks just to see him on how I feel about Shane and Dable moving forward. And the whole Barkley thing, the team was a mess. If you re-signed Barkley, what was it going to do? Maybe an extra 1 or 2 wins? You know, Barkley would be
Think more than that.
well, I mean, but they're not going to be playoff worthy.
How do you know? I mean, the NFC stinks, Mike.
You're right, but I don't think they'd be playoff worthy.
I do. I would say Saquon Barkley and Malik Neighbors 100%. That would make Malik Neighbors even better if you have Saquon Barkley.
It opens up the field for
is
more
not
options.
that good. It's it's causing an issue. You know, if they're not that good, all you have to do is force.
Dude, the offensive line sucked for years, and Saquon Barkley was still kicking ass. You don't need a good
They
line
didn't
for
win many
Saquon Barkley.
games.
I mean, come on.
They won 3 games with cutlets last year, which they shouldn't have won.
Oh, come on, Mike.
And he's horrible.
Well, first of all, Daniel Jones was not healthy last year.
no, I'm just bringing it up. Like, they're just
Don
not
Bosco.
good all the way around. And, that's what I'm saying. Like, even though you got to utilize your money and spread it around, if they would have re-signed Barkley, it would have been a waste of this year because they're not that good. Barkley would be a missing piece moving forward, in my opinion, when you're a good enough team. Like the Eagles. The Eagles, besides what's going on, I'm talking about, they have Devontae Smith, they have A.J. Brown, they have Goddard, who's injured. They have a good offensive line. Like, they have, the missing piece was that consistency in running back, even though Swift was pretty good. They should have never got rid of him, but whatever. Barkley's much better.
All right, Scoops. I know you're a Giant fan. We have somebody on the phone. Hold on, and we'll get you through.
Yeah, all I'm going to say is we kind of mentioned it a little bit last time we were talking about the show with Saquon Barkley and the whole Joe Shane thing. But Joe Shane did have a bunch of questions entering the season, especially after the Hard Knock situation. A lot of them being answered, showing his incompetence. How is the running game going to be? How will the offensive line perform? This team averages like 4 to 8 sacks given up on them every game. And their best running back is a guy who wasn't even designated to start. So you wonder what was truly Joe Shane's game plan going into the season. And I mean, this season comes 3 of the 5 losses are all coming from one of the Giants' big issues this season. I feel like is they can't finish any games strong. I mean, they start off either quarter number 1, quarter number 2, or even quarter number 3, finding a bit of a rhythm, finding a bit of offense. They get either Malik Neighbors or somebody like Tracy. I can't remember. Tyron Tracy getting involved later in the game, but their offensive line just shows their insufficiency, their offensive line, and then their defense, like I said, doesn't know how to show up for a game. Like, for instance, that game against the Bengals, that was a defensive game all the way up into the 4th quarter, which the Giants should have easily won that. The Bengals tried everything to not win that game until, the Giants, just like I said, basically didn't want to win the game either, showing how, letting Joe Burrow had like a 50-yard run, which made absolutely no sense in the beginning of the game. And then, like I said, that
killed
score.
Me. He beat me in fantasy. Thank you, Joe.
Of course. And he hasn't even been a good fantasy, good fantasy quarterback either.
No.
So the fact that we're making incompetence decisions like this, it goes to show.
Fish, what are you trying to make me throw up? I mean, seriously.
He pulled up the exact run.
Yeah.
How do you let that happen? What is? I don't understand. So.
You go man coverage because you're so worried about the receivers. You don't put anyone on the quarterback, and he's too freaking good to do that. It's just, look, Shane Bowen's first year as a defensive coordinator with the Giants. There's been some really good performances by the front 7. There's also been some questionable performances by the secondary. So I think it's a little bit uneven, but I do like what I've seen. Look, a lot of good sacks from, Brian Burns has been as advertised. Dexter Lawrence is going to probably be defensive player of the year right now. I think he's 9 sacks as an interior lineman. But you see all these things, and he's like getting doubled on some.
Either way, just so everybody
of his
knows,
snaps.
I'm never going to get the credit for that. When Dexter Lawrence got drafted on the show, I called him Sexy Dexy. Just so you guys know that. And then all of a sudden, everybody started using it. I'm not taking any credit because nobody's going to give me credit. But just so anybody knows, I remember him Clemson. And when he was drafted at number 16 or 17 on this show, I said, look, Sexy Dexy. That's what I said. And you want to know something? Now all of a sudden, everybody's calling him Sexy Dexy. So I'm not going to get any credit for it. But if you go back and you go watch the draft show that we had, I said Sexy Dexy.
Mike remembers that well. That's the night he became a Patriots fan.
That's true, too. ESPN reports that that the NBA will investigate Joel Embiid for not playing in back-to-back games during the regular season in order to reduce injury risks. Charles Barkley said, Embiid saying that shows he is a bad leader as one of the top 5 players in the league. Shaq took shots at Embiid saying the league today is not physical enough to be worried about load management. Stephen A. Smith said that Joel Embiid could have every injury ever on a human body. ESPN's Jay Williams defended Embiid, saying that the 76ers have to do this to have a chance of making the Eastern Conference Finals. Embiid has only played 60 games or more 4 out of the 10 NBA seasons he's played in. First of all, I give a shout out to Shaquille O'Neal because I like Shaquille O'Neal, I like Shaq, I like his personality, I like everything, and I like Charles Barkley. Again, I am not a big fan of Joel Embiid. I'm actually happy the Knicks were not going or willing to go after Joel Embiid after what he did in the playoffs this past season. You should be embarrassed of yourself after what you were doing, trying to injure people, trying to, pretty much look at right now. Mitchell Robinson is not having a season until February. Why? Because of Joel Embiid for what he did. So Joel Embiid should have been suspended. Joel Embiid should have had fines and all that other stuff. But you know what? He's a superstar, and this is what happens with Adam Silver because LeBron James or the LeBums are running the organization as a whole. As far as the investigation of back-to-back games, Joel Embiid right now is going to cause his own problem moving forward as an NBA player. If you're going to do something, don't open your friggin' mouth, okay? Keep it to yourself. Nobody gives a crap what you're going to do. Just do it. I mean, LeBron James does it all the time. How many times have we seen LeBron James play 58 games in a season? He does not play 82 games in a season because he's all about the playoffs. Why the hell would you go out there and open your damn freaking mouth and throw your team and yourself under the bus? Because now you're going to be investigated and you can lose a draft pick. I mean, I don't know what the NBA is going to do, and Adam Silver is a little bitch, so you know damn well he's not going to take away the 76ers draft pick because Adam Silver is all about the players because this is a players' league. Mike, we fight about this all the time, and this is why we don't watch the regular season in the NBA because it's run by the players. The NBA is a league of extraordinary gentlemen. You know why they're extraordinary? They're making hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're making their own friggin' rules, okay? I'm tired of this. And Charles Barkley, for a guy that I can't stand Charles effing Barkley because he can't stand the Knicks, okay? And his takes on the Knicks is just absolutely unbearable. I have to say that Charles Barkley is extremely right. If you think that you're a top 5 player, you should be playing. You should be out there. Michael Jordan came out many times on his many different documentaries, including Last Dance, and said, quote unquote, I played 82 games. I never sat out because I know that when I was in that stadium, people came to see me play. And I wanted to make sure that what people were spending, they got a chance to spend their money in the right places, that it was worth every penny on the tickets and jersey sales and everything that they bought at that stadium because I was playing. When you hear that from Michael Jordan, you don't see LeBron doing that. You don't see Steph Curry doing that or Joel Embiid or anybody in the NBA. And by the way, Greg Popovich started this. The great Popovich that everybody says is the greatest or one of the greatest coaches of all time. He has ruined the game of basketball. Yes, Greg Popovich is one of the main reasons why these athletes, because he started this with Tim Duncan, if you guys remember. He did it with Duncan, then he did it with Ginobili, then he did it with Parker, then he did it with Kawhi, and now you look at the league, everybody's doing it because it's all about the playoffs. It's all about winning championships. It's despicable. Why do people go and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, play tickets, buying 10-game tickets? Look up right now, Nick tickets right now for 10-game package. All the way in upper bleachers, whatever they call nosebleeds. You know how much they are? They're like almost $7,000-$8,000. I mean, why the hell would I want to go and watch a game in the nosebleeds for $8,000 when I could sit in my home and watch it on a 55 or 65-inch screen TV and actually hear these morons speak play-by-play? I mean, seriously. It's horrible. It's despicable. And the NBA needs to fix this. And they need to fix this fast because the game is absolutely twisted.
Yeah, Kawhi Leonard's a good example of that too, because even though he had the Greg Popovich load management later on in his Spurs career, he still had the injury issues after with Toronto and then with the Clippers. So another extreme. We never know when he's coming back for a lot of the time. So I think at that point, like there's players that are just in too deep when it comes to injuries. And I think Joel Embiid is that example of that, which is why yeah, you could try this approach if you're the Sixers not playing him in back-to-back games. Is it really going to make a difference for somebody like that? Because he's always been injury prone. Stephen A. Smith has jokingly, he says injuring everything in the human body. I mean, he's injured pretty much a lot of the major injuries in the NBA. And for a guy that has to really be a leader for a 76ers team that's very old outside of Tyrese Maxey, you need that kind of thing to work. As far as the low management thing, I've always been very neutral on that kind of thing. But Joe Dumars was pushing it last year to not be that.
Who started it, Katie? Who started it?
Well, yeah, Greg Popovich, I know, started it. I'm saying,
I rest my case.
I'm
greatest coach of all time. Everybody was putting the greatest coach of all time. Even Stephen A. freaking Smith pointed it out and said Greg Popovich is the greatest coach of all time. Did you ever see Phil Jackson say that to any of his players? Kobe Bryant played the majority of his games. Shaquille O'Neal, big fat Shaquille O'Neal, Mr. Diesel played every single one of his games when he's healthy. You never seen Phil Jackson do this, but everybody says Phil Jackson bought his wins because he coached great players. Guess what? So did Greg Popovich. So Stephen A. Smith, bite me.
Yeah, and the point with Kawhi Leonard especially, and Jabba, you probably dealt with teammates with like that. They're always going to be injury prone anyway, if you want to give them an innings limit or not, or have them not go as long into the games as you would be. And the same kind of thing with basketball. You could try to load manage somebody like Joel Embiid all you want. I don't know if it's going to make a difference. And I think Joe Dumars, who we talked about last year, trying to emphasize the fact that you're trying to play more, is going to start the investigation. You're right. It's not going to be as much Adam Silver. I think it's going to be more him that's going to force into Embiid if it does get to a higher extreme.
But to your point, Speedy, exactly like you said, it's like, even if you load management, even on the back end with Kawhi, we've seen, what happened. But Arrow, when you're talking about Embiid saying something, the freaking Sixers president of baseball operations told them that this is what they're going to do. Would try to keep both Embiid and Paul George out of back-to-backs this series. We're going to be smart about it. Part of being smart about it is having both George and Joel probably not play many back-to-backs, if any. Like, shut up. Like, you don't say anything when LeBron does it. Like, and you see it. And that's exactly, to your point, what Jordan said. It's like, I'm going to play because I'm going to give you what you want. And you know how many signs you've seen where kids have said, I've traveled 1,000 miles to see so-and-so, and they're not playing because coach's decision? Like, that's a farce. Like, if you're hurt, you're hurt. I get it. Like, injuries happen. But if you're just taking a day and, just a recovery day, do the recovery before the game starts. You got the best technology and the best trainers in the world. Like, you can get back. Like, there's so many opportunities. And I get taking a day here because it's a grind. And I understand that. But also, too, you see, guys in like baseball playing 158 games. Marcus Semion's played 162, like 6 seasons in a row or something crazy. That's with travel. That's with everything, and playing through injuries like, oh, my pinky, or when Paul Pierce got taken off in a wheelchair because he had to take a shit. Like, what are we talking about? We'll watch hockey. They'll get 2 teeth knocked out in stitches and they're back out in 7 minutes. Like,
What
We
do
talk
we
about it all
do?
the time. The most profitable dentist is Alex Ovechkin's.
Oh, 100. I don't even know if he has any real teeth anymore.
I love Alexander Ovechkin, and I love hockey players because hockey players are tough, and they'll go out there with a broken toe, broken fingers, broken knuckle. They'll do whatever it takes to go out there to win for their team, and that's what a team is for. When you watch what's going on in the NBA, they're all peewees, every single one of them, crybaby. And I'll say this about Jalen Brunson: I got to give Jalen Brunson a lot of credit. Jalen Brunson hurt his wrist at midseason, and Jalen Brunson played. He taped his wrist, and he went out there week in and week out and played with a hurt wrist. That's what you want your player to do. That's what you want your captain to do. Now, by the way, congratulations to Jalen Brunson. I never gave him congratulations being named the New York Knicks captain. But to sit here, and I'm not saying this because I'm a Knicks fan. I'm just speaking the truth. When you look at the league and you look at how these players are playing now, it's all about the playoffs. And Mike, again, I'd love to know your opinion on this. We've argued this, and you said, I don't even care about the regular season. I don't even care about basketball anymore because they're a bunch of peewees. So your thoughts, Mike?
Well, me and you always talk about it, and basketball is becoming unbearable to watch because of all these prima donnas or stars that you want to call them, to where as soon as they go to the basket and they get they get like a little wind past their ear, they want a foul called. Now with the load management that has happened, the only difference is that these athletes are not that bright. You just don't say anything, just do it. And I understand the circumstances to the fans that if they pay money and they want to see you, but if you don't say anything and don't do anything, and then it just happens and occurs, as long as there's an attendance and attendance keeps going up in the NBA, it's not going to change. And obviously the rules have changed according to when LeBum came in, so unfortunately, and I'm thankful for saying this, that I really watch basketball. If I do, 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, opening night ceremony, and I'll watch Banner 19 raised again this year. So until then, I can't watch a sport when you got too many prima donnas.
I do not believe the Celtics will win Banner 19 this year. I know they.
Oh my God!
You could say, "Oh my God," all you want. You could book that, Mike. You can come on this show anytime you want.
If they stay healthy again,
they're not winning it.
Banner
I'm telling you, they're not winning it this year. I'm telling you, they're not winning it this year. I know all the Celtic fans right now because of what they did to Knicks in game number one.
I don't even know.
I'm just saying what I've read.
Game one.
I'm just telling you what everybody is saying right now, including Stephen A. Smith, who's sitting there. And a couple of days ago, yeah, Stephen, you're hearing. I hope you're listening. And if you're not, you can kiss my ass. You went out there
I want to ask you
2
a question.
friggin' weeks ago and said that the Knicks are going to the finals. And then all of a sudden today on national television with the 76ers in Milwaukee and you have the Celtics going, shame on you.
He doesn't know
you
anything.
Pee-wee.
But I have a question. I know you probably watched last night's game, and regardless of what happened, what do you actually think of the Knicks roster? Because I felt that too much of the chemistry has changed.
I don't think it. First of all, you brought in Mikal Bridges. He came in. They just started practicing.
And I know it takes a while.
Hold on. I'm giving it to you. Karl Anthony Towns was just traded a week and a half ago. Okay, he doesn't even know the offense and even what the offense is supposed to do and the defense is supposed to do and what he's supposed to do on the perimeter. So take that away. All right. They don't have Mitchell Robinson. They didn't have what's his name again? Precious. They didn't have a lot of their players there. And you're looking off the bench. They played very, very small against the Celtics. Look what they were doing on their second team. They had Josh Hart. They had McBride. They have Jalen Brunson. Their big man in the middle was who, Speedy? Mikal Bridges. You're not going to.
I thought it was Jericho Sim.
No. Jericho Sim was back and forth. He wasn't. No, he wasn't. In the third quarter, they were playing small against a very big Celtic team.
Jericho Sim, there's no offense.
There's too many injuries right now, and there's 2 or 3 guys right now coming to the roster, Payne and all these other guys, that have to understand the rotation, where the rotation is moving. I'm telling you right now, that is not the Knicks team that you're going to see. I'm going to tell you this right now. This team is winning 55 to 60 games this year. This is a good team, and this is a team that can compete against the Celtics. No question whatsoever. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm even going to go on film right now as you hear it. They're going to beat the Celtics. They're going to beat the Celtics in the playoffs in a 7-game series. You heard it from me. They beat the Celtics. They meet the Celtics. They beat the Celtics. And that has nothing to do with being a Knicks fan. When this team gets healthy with Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns, Cat, playing together, They are a better team than Celtics. They can absolutely compete against the Celtics. I would probably believe that Mikey would eat Oreos out of his ass too, right, Speedy? What do you think, Speedy?
Ask Mike.
I'm
He's right
asking
here.
you. What
He's
do you think?
He's right here.
But I'm asking
Ask
you.
Jabba.
I'm
Let's know what
asking-
Jabba wants.
I don't think Jabba knows Mike. I'm asking you.
He knows the concept of Oreos better than I do.
Well, you don't know Mikey, so you don't know the Oreos.
But the Oreos are what matters here. We want to know. Jabba's new. We need his thoughts.
Don't share a Wu-Tang pie with the rock.
I'm definitely not eating the cream out. I know that.
What about the cows? Do they eat the cream?
Well,
Oh, they'll eat anything.
well, Speedy's got some hay in his ass.
It's a different color though, remember?
That's true. It's a dark color.
Mike doesn't like the different color.
Oh man, what a show!
The only
Thank you.
chocolate I do is Oreos and ice cream. That's it.
I like ice cream, chocolate ice cream too. By the way,
My least favorite.
chocolate ice cream.
Yeah.
Chocolate's a good flavor.
No. I'm a cookies and cream and butter pecan guy.
You're from Nebraska. I mean, that's something else.
Yeah,
As long as you didn't say coffee or Rocky Road. Okay?
No.
That's- people eat coffee ice
Cookies
cream.
and cream. That boy
It's
scoop.
actually pretty good.
Ugh.
I don't mind it.
Well, you like coffee.
Right.
I not me. Ugh.
We
I-
actually on our ag hall, we actually have our own ice cream store.
Mm.
Like on campus.
Really?
Like it's from the cows there that the ag department that want to
You know
be farmers and whatever. They work on the cows and then make their own ice cream.
Yeah.
Jabba, it's so interesting because every time I go to another state, the milk tastes different. I don't know what it is. Like here in New York, and I eat I drink 2% milk. I don't like the whole milk. I don't like the 1%. I like the 2%. I like it like watered down. But anytime I get 2% milk, I go to Florida. I've been to Colorado. I've been all over the place, but everywhere it has this like weird tangy taste. Why is that? I mean, you're a milk guy.
Well, it's how the cows are fed, like what their diet is. That's why grass-fed beef tastes different than, structured beef and all the other stuff. So, yeah, it's just the way they're fed. So
Interesting.
I don't like milk, so I don't care unless it's on cereal.
So if we cut Jeff up a little bit and feed him to the cows, it'd have a little tangy taste to it.
Snug keeps chiming in. I don't know why he doesn't call.
I don't drink a lot of milk.
That's the now soundbite for Java now.
I don't drink a lot of milk.
Well, there's a lot of ups and downs, if you know what I mean.
I like chocolate milk. That's the one chocolate I do like, which is very hypocritical that I don't like chocolate ice cream.
What a show. Thank you to obviously our goaltending friend, Eddie Lack, for joining us. Fantastic, as always. Oh, and thank you to our very special guy, first time on our show, PA announcer, Mets PA announcer, Colin Cosell. He was fantastic.
Oh, he was great. He was great.
Really, really was. Great interview. Obviously, thank you to all the fans. Keep listening to us. Download us. Or anytime you want to go on Spotify, you want to go on Apple, you can find us, The Sports Loudmouth. There will be a big announcement next week. We're changing the show's name. So we're working on a logo. When that happens, you guys will see it. And we're working on so many different things moving forward. So stay tuned for that. By the way, Jabba, as always, your second full episode. How was it, man?
Oh, it was great. Colin was awesome. Just knowing the company that you're in and the stories, he could probably do a whole show by himself just talking about memories with his grandpa and all those things. So no, it's just cool. Happy for him and his opportunity, and he does a great job. So that was awesome. And other than Speedy's question to Eddie, it was fine. Everything was good.
Yes, everything was good. But anyways, thank you to all the fans out there. Keep listening to us, YouTube, The Sports Loudmouth. We have the Sports Loudmouth Radio. If you want to check out all the shorts Speedy cuts up and chops up. By the way, Speedy posted up a short for you, almost broke 3,000 already. So I just want to let you know it was less than 24 hours.
Yeah, Java retweeted it.
Yes, I'm just letting you know. Just letting you know. It's hopping and popping, if you know what I mean. Oh, man. Anyways, we'll be back on Tuesday, not Monday. Speedy's got, what do you got, Speedy?
I have a dentist to get out 3 more cavities in the back of my teeth, and I have a gastro.
You got to stop eating that candy, Speedy. What else are you eating? What do you think is causing that? What do you mean?
I don't know. We done 3 years worth of accumulation. So
what do you mean 3 years? You haven't been to the dentist in 3 years?
Not until 2 months ago.
Why?
Because my parents had to deal with other other people's doctors.
Okay, so what do you think you've been eating that's causing these?
I don't know. I've eaten so many things over the last 3 years. Take your pick of every food you've ever heard of.
Besides food, what else have you eaten?
What?
Besides food, what have you eaten?
What are you even talking about?
The flavor. Oh man.
Anyways. I'm done. I'm done before I get myself even in more trouble. Thank you to the fans. We'll be back on Tuesday. Good night, everybody.